Yo, what is up everyone? So today I want to show you how I made this simple sidebar with React and stock components. So this one's similar to the one I made beforehand, except this time we're going to use stock components, and as well we have little sub menus, or you can call this like a drop down, whatever you want to call it. And you can see here we just have a little drop down, and then also we have here, and then also I added, just so you can see, when you click on a link or a sub menu, it'll showcase a different URL. So again, you can go ahead and get fancy with this, customize this, and then also just regular tabs like this, and then we got it like that. So I couldn't find any tutorials or at least videos showing this, so I figured I'd just make my own. And again, feel free to refactor this, customize it, make it better. Let me know things I can add to it. And aside from that, let me show you how I made this sidebar. Alright, so here I am on my terminal. So go ahead and open up your terminal and navigate into your folder where you're planning on creating this. Or if you already have a project, feel free to go in there. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this from scratch. So I'm just going to do npx space and then say create -react -app. And then I'll just call this one React Sidebar. Let's just call this sub. And I'll just put like version 2. And then you name this whatever you want to, but I already made regular sidebar before, so I'll just call this like the second version. And I'm just gonna press enter. And once that finishes loading, then I will see you once it is completed. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and navigate into here. So I'm gonna do cd, let's do React Sidebar sub v2. And I have VS Code. So I already have this set up where I can just type in code dot and it auto opens for me. If you don't, then go ahead and just open up your code editor with the project, and right now we have these files over here. So let me just exit off this. Let me just rearrange my screen really quick, and then I can just bring this over here so we can put this, let me just move this way over here. And also I forgot to show, I don't know if I showed in the beginning, but you can like open and close this too, by the way. And now let's go ahead and let's go make sure everything's here. And I'm just gonna keep the files for now. Let's just do, you can do Command J, and it opens up your terminal. And I have yarn installed. If you don't, just do user npm, but I'm just gonna say yarn start. And I have yarn, so let me see if I can add this line really quick. So if you have this error, it's gonna make you create this file. If you don't have this error, then you don't have to worry about this. But I can just do .env, paste this. I can run yarn start again. So again, if you don't have yarn, just do npm start here, and then let's do, I already have this loaded technically, so let me just press Y, so it just loads up on another screen. And it looks like it loaded on my, let me drag this over here. So as that's loading, we should see our little React icon. And so we can go to app.js, and let's just get rid of everything here, and let's just put h1. I'm just gonna type in yo and see if everything is showing. Okay, so everything's working fine. In terms of logo, this line we can get rid of this, and we can just delete the load SVG, or if you need it, keep it, but I don't need it for this. Make sure we save the app.js so we don't have the error anymore. And then let's go ahead and start adding in our code. So first thing, again, you can reorganize this however you want to. Let me just make a new folder in the src. I'll just call this components, and then we can just do, let's just do a new file here, and let's just create, and let's do a, let's see, I'm just gonna call it sidebar.js. You can name this whatever. And now let's pretty much create our data file too. So let's just name this, well, the way I'm doing it for this tutorial, I'm just gonna say sidebar data.js. And then I'm gonna have a sub menu. So this is essentially another component, at least the way I separated it, so that whenever I click on like the drop down arrows, it'll essentially showcase this. So I'll just call this one like sub menu.js. So in the actual regular sidebar, so first off, go here to extension little logo, and make sure you have ES7, these React snippets extension installed, because we're gonna do some shortcuts. So what I'm gonna do, once you have that installed, you can do RAFCE and just press tab, and it automatically creates our, pretty much our template. And for here, we could we can change this to like a normal function, but I mean, this is fine, which works too. And for now, let's just put inside of this div, let's just say sidebar, just to make sure everything's working. And then we can go to our app.js, and let me just delete all of this. I'm gonna put fragments for right now, just to like have filler. But let's just do, let's pass in the sidebar. And the cool thing is if you press enter, it'll auto import it. So you can see it from the top. So again, if that didn't work, do control space and it'll bring it back up again, and just press enter. And now just close that and we'll save it here. And we got the sidebar working. Awesome. So that's cool. We got that working. So one thing too I want to install is, so since we're using regular React, you could just click this plus sign and add it there. Or if you didn't want to do that, you could also do control C to essentially stop your current application. And then we can just do, I have yarn. So if you don't have yarn, you just say npm install. I'm going to say yarn add, and I want to do styled dash components. Then also I want to install React dash icons. And then also I want to install React router DOM. And I think that should be all we need for now. So let me just press enter and go to package.json. So right now this is what yours should look like, unless there's some new updates. But for the most part, it should be it shouldn't include what we just installed, unless in the future they add it manually. But now you can see we got React icons here because it finished it up. We got React router DOM, and then we got style components. So now I can just do yarn start again, or npm start if you don't have yarn. And right now we can just press Y, so run. So it just refreshes here. And we can, let me just drag this over so you can see it. So it looks like everything's good. And then if I put like 1 here just to test it, and then I'll just, yeah, you can see that it shows the 1. So it looks like everything's working fine. So now we need to actually create data. So let's just do that now. So let's just go to sidebar data. And again, if you have your own data file and you do it like separately, like your own JSON or whatever, then you can just skip this. But in case you're just following along from scratch, let's just do, I'm just gonna do IMR, a little snippet, just press tab, import to React. So I'm also gonna be using React icons. So if you've never used it before, pretty much think of it as a way to import a lot of different icon designs without having to manually download it or add like a custom CDN or link in top of like your HTML page and whatnot. So here, cool trick is you can just say import star as, and then you would name this, so I'm gonna call this one FA icons from, and then I'm just say React dash icons slash FA. So in case you've never seen it, let me just bring up the little page real quick. So here, just Google React icons is like the first link, and pretty much you can install it like this if you didn't do it already. But here you can like type in, I don't know, you just put like bars, and you can see we have all these different icons, and these are all from different places. So you can see all these different icons. You can check like Font Awesome is pretty popular, and then, you know, go through whatever icons you want, and then you also search it like this. And then essentially the first 2 letters is always going to be what you put at the end. So React slash icon slash whatever the 2 letters are here. So IMGI, and then I just call this import star as FA that icons, because then that way I don't have to manually, when I import like a custom icon, I don't have to rewrite it and import it by itself. So here I'm just gonna do let's do Shift Command or Alt down arrow. Actually, yeah, no, Shift Alt down arrow, my bad. And then just do this 3 times, and then we can change this one as so we can do AI icons, and then we can say from AI, and then we got, let's do IO icons, IO, and let's just say RI from RI. So again, if you add like your own image files or SVGs, then you'd obviously have to do it that way, but this is just the way I'm doing it. And let's just say, let's do export const sidebar data equals to an array. And then inside the array, we're going to pass in an object. And then here, let me actually put this on a separate line so it's easier to read. Let's just call this, you can call this name, title. So this is just essentially like home, about, or whatever you want to call your labels. So let's just say title, overview. Now this is, if you followed the previous sidebar video, like the way back I made, it's almost identical, except this time we have like a sub nav menu or sub data. So here, path, I just want that to be /overview icon. And again, I'm just making up these names. You want to call this tacos, name it tacos, but icon makes more sense. And for this one, I'll just pass in AI icons.ai fill home / so again, if you're like, what in the world is that? Essentially, if I type in AI fill, right now it looks like it's lagging, but ideally this is what an icon name is. And once that loads up, we'll see. Yeah, so here, and you can't really see it, but essentially it's just a home logo. So you can see like AI fill account book, AI fill whatever. This one's AI fill home, so like this one. So I'm literally adding this, and then I put, since I imported as AI icons like this at the top, I have to put that in the front of it and then put a dot. If you didn't do it, then I'd have to manually import it at the top like individually, and it just takes so much space if you have a bunch of icons. And then here, I just called this, you can rename this, but I just did it for like tutorial sake, just icon close. So essentially if the, you click here, like if it's essentially it's closed right now, and then it opens it. So that's just like how I named it. But here, just pass in ri icons dot ri. This would be arrow down s fill closing tag. Then we can do shift all down arrow again, and then just say time. We can just say opened, and then this would just be let's see, ri arrow up s fill. So now this is almost identical, give or take these two little icon close and open I added from the previous sidebar bit. But this one I added here now, just call this one sub nav. Name this whatever makes sense to you. And then I can do array and then objects. And then ideally here you just pass in and essentially our sub menu items. So I'm just gonna say, let's just straight up copy this line here and just paste it in. And then we can just call this one like this could be like sub, but I'll just name it something like users. You can name the path, you know, overview users, and then here we can just change this to like let's see, icon here would be io icons dot io ios paper. And then in a sub nav after the first object, then if you want to add additional drop down menu items, essentially you just copy this and paste, and then we can just call this one like say like revenue here. We can say whatever you named yours, and then we'll just keep that for now. Again, you can change it, but just to save time. And then here, essentially, this is like our first little menu. So like if I go back here, this is overview, which is right here. And then our sub menu or sub nav has these two. So this is just the way I set it up. Feel free to let me know better ways or easier ways to do this, but here, let's just go after this. Next object, we can pretty much just copy and paste this almost. So like I can just try to copy this and just paste it, and then we can just change this to whatever you want to name it. So we can say like reports, and then we'll just do like slash reports. And just for tutorial's sake, I'm just gonna save time and just not refill, or I wouldn't update the icons. I'll just go back and do it at the end. But in terms of like the titles, I'll just do it just so you can see it. So we're just gonna call this one like reports. Did I name reports twice? It doesn't really matter, I think. Yeah, I technically said it twice. It doesn't matter. But here we can just say reports here, and then we can just say here like let's see, slash or report slash reports 1. And then pretty much we can just copy this. Let's just paste this here. So replace this one, and this one can be like reports 2, and this can change this to reports 2. and I can just copy and paste it again. I can just call it like reports 3. And you get the point. Obviously, you name these whatever you're trying to do. And then if you didn't want any sub menus, you just do a normal, just straight up, title. Let's just say products, and then your path, which is this products, and then icon would just be whatever. So icon would just say, let's just do fa icon slash or dot fa cart plus slash, and then you just copy and paste that until you complete it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and I'm gonna straight up copy in my original data just to save some time. But for the most part, it's the same concept. So like, let me just copy in mine. And basically, I stopped here, but I just added another one. Same exact thing, just called it team. Then I just added another messages one, except it has a sub menu. And then just the last one, support. So you can see here, just to show you like you can mix and match it. It doesn't have to be like back to back. So there. But here, data file pretty much done. Nothing too fancy. And let me go here. And now let's go ahead and actually start adding in some code. So first thing is let's get rid of all these. Cool trick, go to open editors here, and you can just click this X, closes everything. So I'm just going to sidebar, and then what I want to do is, let's go ahead and import styled from styled components. And then for here I also want to import a link, so I'm going to say imports link from React router DOM, and then we have some icons too, so let's just do let's just copy this from the data just to save time. So I'm gonna go back to my sidebar data, copy these 2 lines here, just paste that there, and then pretty much we can just save this right now. And if you never use stock components, it's basically CSS and JavaScript combined, and it's sort of like written kind of like Sass, where you can like nest things, and then instead of having to write like colon hover, you can just straight up do it within the own curly braces, or essentially these are backticks. But this one's fairly simple, and you can create like a custom elements file for this, but I'm just gonna do everything inside the file here, sidebar.js, just to make it easy. So what I want to do first is create a nav. So what I'm gonna do is just say const nav. And we can say, let's do equals style.div. So you say style dot whatever you want it to be. You want it to be a nav, a div, a link, h1, p tag, and then you do double backticks here. And then you just paste in pretty much the style. So here we can just say like background. Let's do what's the 15171C. Let's set the height. Let's do 80 pixels. And also let me say this really quick, and then let me show you it live. So I'll just do, let me just put a fragment here, and then I want to just say let's do just nav, and then it auto or has the closing tag. Let's just put like nav for now, because technically you can't see anything. But here you can see it's black, or not almost black, pretty much background, whatever this hex code, and then it's just 80 pixels tall. So now we can, so since this is just a logo, like I'm just gonna display flex it and center it, but you can't really see that yet. But let's just say display flex and just flex content, flex start inline items to be centered. So next thing I want to do is create an icon. So here I'm just gonna straight up put in between this nav. Let's just call this one nav icon. And again, you can name this whatever you want to. You just call this icon, menu, whatever. Feel free to change it, but I'm just gonna say nav icon. And this is gonna be a link too. So I'm just gonna say 2 is equal to just hashtag. It doesn't go anywhere. And then inside of this, I want to import a icon. So let's just say fa icons dot fa bars, and then we can just close it. So now if I save this, nav icon is gonna run an error. So now we gotta do is actually import that, and then looks like my icon didn't fa icons. Yeah, so I'll figure this out in a second. Sometimes I don't know why. Sometimes it was It was bugging out earlier, but let me just do this. Let me do nav icon first. Let's say const nav icon. Say equal to style, and then for links, you can't just do dot a tag because it's a React router link. So what you do is you do a parentheses and then you pass it in as a link like this. Then we'll do backticks, 2 backticks here, and then I can just say like margin dash left 2 rev. Let me just say that really quick. Let me just make sure everything's working. And it's saying here, attempted import error, FA bar is not exported from React icon.fa. So I don't know why it's not showing it all of a sudden. I have imported as FA icons from React-icon/FA, and then I have it straight up right here, FA icons.FA bars. So let me see if I can debug this really quick and see what's wrong. Oh, I noticed the error. The B is lowercase, so I'll just capitalize it. Little tiny syntax error, but that should fix it. So now let's do this. And now what it's going to say is you're using a link outside of React router. So what I'm actually going to have to do is we're going to have to actually add this into our app.js, but then we're going to have to wrap this with our router and sidebar essentially. So let's go to app.js. And then let's pretty much import this. So let's do here, let's go ahead and just say import curly brace browser router as router. And then I'm gonna have to pass switch, and then also I'm gonna have a route. And it's just gonna be from React router DOM. So in case you just started React router, they have docs where you can see a bunch of this information. But here, let's go ahead and just pass this in. So we can just straight up say, wrap everything with a router. So like this. And then right now we're not creating any routes yet. So technically I could just save this and see if it works. So it looks like it's working fine. So eventually we're gonna add the pages, but like right now we don't need switch and route yet, but we'll just keep it there. But it looks like everything's working, so let's just go ahead and style this really quick. So for the nav icon, the margin, I just did that. And again, this is just the way I styled it. Feel free to change it up. But let's just set the font size to 2 rem. And if you have your own actual like icon, then obviously you don't have to customize it yourself. But let's do say the height should do 80 pixels here. Let's set the display to flex. Justify content, flex starts, and align items to be centered. So here it's going to be like this. And right now let's do, let's actually have a sidebar. So right now you can't really see what happened, but when we actually open up the sidebar, when we have like the X here, this is the code that fixes it. Because if it don't, it's going to like push everything up. And you won't really tell, but right now you can't really tell because it's just this icon. But here, let's just do, let's create a sidebar nav, or at least I'll call it that. And then pretty much we can just say, let's do const sidebar nav equal to style.nav, backtick. And let's set the background to hashtag 15171C. Let's pass this in. So let's just do it right under the nav here. And let's just call this sidebar nav, or it should be lowercase. And then we'll just save this for now. What time we could do, let's pass sidebar wrap. We're gonna create this in a second too. And then also I'm gonna have my nav icon, so I might as well just do it right now. So let's just copy this here. Except the FA bars is gonna be, this one should be AI icons dot AI out line close, and it looks like most of it's done. We're gonna have to end up passing in the sidebar data under here, but right now I need to actually create this. Just say const sidebar wrap, so the equal to style.div, and I'll set the width to 100%. So this should be fine now and it should be showing. Except now what I want to do is I want to put a width. So let's do width 250 pixels. Save it here. And technically you can't really see it, but once it's active, then you'll be able to notice it. Let's just set the height to 100 viewport height. And technically, there's nothing in here. So what we can do is let's go ahead and let's actually add state, because right now you can't really see anything. So let me add state before I continue so that you actually see what we're actually editing. So for state, we're going to use state, and if you use state before, then you already know, but basically we just say const, then the brackets say sidebar, and then whatever you want to, essentially the function would always be set, and whatever you named the first value, so we can just say set sidebar here, and then I'm going to set equal to use state, want it to be false, and now we can create a function called const. I'm going to name this one show sidebar. It's going to be set equal to an arrow function, and then pretty much we're just going to say set sidebar. So essentially this is going to update the value, and it's going to do exclamation, and this is just going to change it from the opposite, so just true false. And then we just got to pass in use state above here, so say it like this, curly brace, and then what I want to do is pass this into the actual sidebar nav, so right here. So in order to do that, how are we going to know that this is actually not right now, we're going to do that in a second. We're going to do on click first here. So on the bars icon, the hamburger menu we see should be on this. So again, that was the one reason too. I forgot I was on the wrong tab. I was wondering, like, why is it not showing? Okay, so you guys are probably going crazy. So it looks like it is showing. I was just on the wrong tab. But either way, it's fine. We have state, but at least now we know that everything's working fine here. So what I want to actually do is for here, let's just set an on click, because we're already doing this, and I just want to trigger that function. So let's do curly braces here, and we'll just say show sidebar. And if I save it right now, let's see if it doesn't really do anything yet, because we haven't added the property inside the stock component to actually do anything. So let's actually do that first. So right now, let me go back to my sidebar nav. So at least we know that the height, everything is showing. And let's just say, I'm just going to say display flex. So again, these are just values. Once the actual sidebar data gets passed in, you'll be able to see it. But let's just do just like content center. Let's do position fixed. Save it for right now. And then let's do top 0. And then let's do a left. So now if you never use stock components, the cool thing is, notice how I also moved it to the top. The cool thing is with this is that you can pass in values inside of the actual styles instead of having to do it with like regular JavaScript manually. So we can each do $, curly brace, parenthesis, curly brace. So we're going to destructure this. And then normally you do like props, dot, whatever you name it, but I'm just going to do a destructure. So I'm going to say sidebar, what I call it here. And then it's going to be an arrow. And then parentheses, and then you name whatever you just call it. So I call it sidebar. And then we're going to use ternary operators, so question mark. So if it's true, I want the left value to be 0, and then colon, else I want it to be minus 100%. I've got the semicolon, transition, let's do 350 ms, and z index, just in case I want it to be like above everything, you can put like 10. And then we can save this. So right now we have an on click on the show sidebar. So if I click it, right now nothing's happening. And the reason nothing's happening is because there's no value to tell like where's the sidebar right here. So we have sidebar and I'm clicking it, but it doesn't know what sidebar is because we didn't pass it anywhere. So I want it to be on the sidebar nav. So I just pass in sidebar like this. So now if I click it, it should show me the sidebar. So just like that. And then I click on this X, it doesn't because I need to add it here. So let me just click here and add it here. And this is like the most basic way I did it. Feel free to let me know alternative methods. And now we got a little sidebar action. So that was pretty simple. Now let's just go ahead and actually pass in the data. So how are we going to do this? So in order to pass in the data, first off, we need to actually import the data. So let's go up here and then just say import curly brace sidebar data from // sidebar data. And then we can go here. And now the thing is, actually, let's create the submenu first. So before we do this, let me just save this for now, make sure no errors. And let's create the submenu first because we're gonna map through and then pass in the submenu. So here I'm on the submenu now. And this one's, once we finish this, will pretty much be set. So let's just do import, or IMR right there. And then let's do import link from, let's do React router, where's it at? Router DOM, and then let's import styled from stock components. So here, let's create the submenu. So we can just say const submenu equals to arrow function. And I should have done the RFA snippet thing, but we'll just mainly do it for now and just say export default submenu. And here, let's go ahead and return. And I want to return the sidebar link, which will create. So let's just do, let me just pass fragment really quick here, put everything in between it. So let's just do sidebar link. And then the sidebar link, now this is essentially the links now, like the data stuff that we added. So what I want to do in order to actually get that, so for instance, this is going to be a link. So in order to do the links, you say to, the normal path. But since we're passing this from a data file, we're going to say item dot path. Oh, what happened? Now you're wondering, why am I saying item? That's just what I'm calling it. You want to call this chicken nuggets, call it chicken nuggets, but it doesn't really matter. Whatever your first words, you name it, dot the data title right here, the name you named the title. So like, not title, the thing you named it in the data file. So you want to do item.title, it will show overview, item.path, item.icon, item.etc. And then let's do, let's close this out. And then let's save, well, not save this, let's actually style this first. Let's do const sidebar link equal to style with a link, actually not, yeah, here, and then backticks, and then it's typical, let's just say display flex for now. Let me save it. And right now you can't see anything, and it's basically invisible. So what we can do, let's set a color, let's just set a color real quick, see if we can see it. Hashtag E1E9SC. And you can't see anything yet because we technically haven't mapped through this. So let's actually do this now. So ideally, we're gonna have all of our data. So it's gonna be hard for me to showcase this since I don't have it mapped yet. But let me see if I can figure out a good way to showcase this where you can actually see everything. So let's do this. Let's make this. And let's make sure this is a closing sidebar link. And let me just pass in the rest of the values so we can see like initial visual, and then from there we can add the rest. So one way we can do this, I wrapped these with a div, so I just did a straight up div, nothing fancy with it, and then I just do curly brace item.icon. And then inside of this div too, I have a name called sidebar label. You can call this title name, but basically this shows the item.title. So we have that there. And now let's go ahead, let me see if I can save this for right now, and then we'll add the remaining files later. So right now let's do, and yeah, it looks like I didn't make this Campbell. So here, so it's sub capital M menu, and then save this here. And then we need to add sidebar label. So let's do const sidebar label equal to styled, and I think I made this one just straight up, I think I made this a span. Yeah, so do style.span, which is backticks. And we're not gonna add any styling yet, but I'll just say this for now because I want to map through this on the main sidebar so you can actually see what's happening. So this isn't completed, this is just like enough to show us something. So let's go back to sidebar now. And then once we add this, all we have to do after is just pretty much finish up the sub menu. So under the nav icon here, but above sidebar wrap, I'm just gonna do curly braces, and then I'm gonna say sidebar data. So this is because I named it sidebar data. You name this so whatever you want, and then you'd say that name in the actual place you decide to map through this. So you say dot map, and let's do arrow function. So double parentheses, arrow function, curly brace. In here, again, when you're wondering why did I call it item, this is where I call it item. You want to call this chicken, call it chicken, but I said item, so I'm gonna say items, and then I just said index when I pass in the key, and then we're just gonna return, and then we're passed in the submenu. So submenu, which we were just editing earlier. I pressed enter, so I made sure it's imported. If not, imported above. And then we got to pass in the item values through here, as well as a key, so React doesn't get mad. And we'll just subcode it. So if I save this now, this should display the data visually. So let's see, item is not defined. Let's see. So let me make sure. Right now, oh yeah, I didn't pass it into. Did I not pass this in the submenu? Yeah. So submenu doesn't know what that is. So here, we gotta destructure this, and now I should be able to read it when I do this like that. And I say, what does that say? Sidebar. Dat. Oh, data. I was like, what is that? What is that? That is supposed to be data. And let's save it now. Should work. Also perfect. Now we basically displayed everything. Looks hideous, but that's okay. We're gonna make it look good. So right now, let's do let's just finish styling it. So pretty much the majority done. Is just this is left. So let's actually do some styling here. So let's go ahead and finish up the sidebar link. So here, let's just do what I put, justify content, space between. Let's do align items, center. Let's do padding, 20 pixels. List style, let's just do none. Height, let's say 60 pixels. And then let's do, let's see, text decoration. Let's do none here. Color, already did color. Font size, do 18 pixels. So this is like super slow for some reason, but yeah, it's working now. And then we can do hover. So the way you do it with stock components, you do and then your values or hover. So notice how I just nested in here, just like Sass. Then we can just say background, hashtag 252831. And I just put a border left. Now I didn't add the active like label where you click it and it's active, but I can do that for like a future video. But I just want to do mainly the drop down for this one. Let's just say like 632 C4, and just put cursor pointer, so he should be good here. And I don't know why it's so slow, but yeah, it looks like this, and it's like massive. Why is it? I think I need to add some more stuff. But let's go to the sidebar. Let's see, sidebar label. It's just span. Let's just do margin dash left of 16 pixels. Oh, what happened here? So there, got some spacing, and pretty much now we just need to add the drop down. So let's do, I'm not sure why is it, it's probably the pattern I added. I'll add that in a second, but pretty much we just need the drop down link. So here, cool little thing too is, you notice the little arrows aren't showing. So this is something I came up with, and I got some help from Stack too. But pretty much we can go under here, under this div. And I wrapped everything. This is essentially the sidebar links, right? So these are like these boxes right here I made. These are essentially the sidebar links. Or I just call it that. Here I did another div. And then inside this div, I did like a multi-ternary operator. So I'm targeting the sub menu subnav. So I'm saying item.subnav. So this is where the drop down action comes in. So now we're going to say item.this, whatever you name yours. And then I'm going to check if that is actually true, and also if we clicked and essentially this is going to show us if the subnav is even there. Because here, this is just checking if it even has a sub. Because if it doesn't, like down, like way down here, like support is just by itself, you don't want to have an arrow on support. Like this doesn't make sense. You only want it if there's a sub nav under it. So this is saying I'm a sub nav. If that's true and there's a sub nav is clicked, then I want to show item.icon opened. Else, then we have item.sub. Let's do so colon sub nav. If that's true, and then we'll do another question mark and say item.icon closed. And then else, if there's no sub menu or drop down, then I just want it to show no. So if I save it here, this should showcase the actual icons. It's saying sub nav, so it should be. Let's see. I don't know if I passed. Oh yeah. So right now, technically we have to add state. I forgot to do that. So let's add state really quick. That way we can actually see what's happening. So let's go here, and let's just do const. Say sub nav. That's what I call it. So that's what I meant by if it's true. Let's just say set sub nav here equal to use state of false. And then same function, console sub nav here, just basic set sub nav to the opposite sub nav. And I think I have to put state, yeah, so go up to top, let's do use state. And then right now for the link, we gotta add a onClick. And essentially I want to check if item.subnav is true. Then if that is true, then also what I want to do is show sub nav. So that's basically checking if there's actually a sub nav. Then I want to trigger the function. Else don't actually do anything. And then we should, if I say this, it should work. So let's see. So now it's saying show sub nav. What did I mistype? Oh yes, this should be show sub nav with a lowercase. So now if I click it here, now notice how now the only ones with the arrow are the ones with actual sub menus. Now we haven't added the actual sub menus yet, but the thing is here, like this null value, if I wanted to call this like hold on, put quotes first, save it, and then if I highlight this, oh, you see it? Oh, okay, just did it anyways. So essentially it's saying these values don't hit any of this logic here. So it doesn't run true for any of that. So essentially it's returning that. So I just put no. So if you have like a better way of doing the same thing, feel free to comment below. But this way it's just pretty basic. And then now all we need to do is just map through our sub menu or sub navs, and then we can display it. So here under sidebar link. So right now, this is pretty much this. Now the rest of this part right here is this next little line of some code that I added. So I just do curly braces here. So now I want to check if sub nav's true. So essentially you clicked it. And item, so we're going to say and then we're going to say item, a double and, item.sub nav. So now we're going to actually go and check if there's actually a sub nav data value. We're gonna map through it, and then we're gonna pass an item, comma index, and then we're just do an arrow function here, and then pretty much we can just return whatever design you want to do. So here I just call this one Dropdown link. 2 is gonna be to the item.path. So again, just to do one more time. We're in a sub navs. We're gonna do item dot whatever you call this. So I call this path. So now it's gonna show this path. And you want to call this one again. You call this taco. You'd say taco dot path. So again, that's what you do. And then just say key. I'll just put index. And then here I want to have item dot icon show. And then also I want to have sidebar label. It should be item dot title. So right now this needs to be styled. So under, let's just go under here, say const, I believe I call it dropdown link, equal to styled. And I think I put a link for this too. So let's just say parentheses link, and then just backticks, and then pretty much, and let me go back to the original just to make sure. Here, and then we can just say background, what's the hashtag 414757. So technically now, if I click these, it shows it. Right now, it just looks ugly, but let's just style it really quick. So let's just say height, put 60 pixels, padding left 3 rem, display flex, line items, center, text, decoration none, color, hashtag F5, F55, and font size, I should put 18 pixels. And then I should put in colon hover, background, let me close my terminal, background, hashtag 632, CE4, and cursor pointer. So save that there. And that should, yeah, so now everything looks nice and clean. And I don't know why my padding is like ridiculous for some reason. So I must have mistyped something somewhere, I guess. Not sure why. Maybe it's this padding. Is it this padding is causing the height, the crazy? Yeah, so it looks like the padding is fine. Maybe it's the font. Yeah, I don't know why it's just so much bigger compared to this one. But again, that's just styling, so feel free to edit that. But right now, majority of the functionality looks like it's working completely fine. And I think I want to do one last thing is change the icon. So like on sidebar, technically I could have just said color, but also since you can also wrap this with like this thing called icon context dot provider, and then value double curly brace, we can say color colon hashtag or quotes hashtag FF, and then pretty much we can get the closing tag and just go under, and then we have to import this to at the top. So let's just say import. Oh, actually, it looks like it already. Yeah, import icons from React icon. I don't know why it said lib. But let's just save and see if that works. So we save. Yeah, so now just import it here. I didn't have add lib last time, but it looks like it just auto-ended it. And this pretty much allows us to, if you have any icons within here that are React icons, you can pretty much style them just essentially like the top level without having to go individually and adding, you know, custom code. But see how like that. So again, we'll just save it, and for the most part, majority of it is finished. The only thing we're missing is the routes, and then I'll figure out why the height. I don't think that really matters for this thing unless am I zoomed in? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know why. I'll check that in a second. But let's go to app.js. Let's go here. And first, let's just go to SRC. Let's do a new folder. Let's call this one pages. And here, let's do new file. Let's just call this one overview.js. This one's pretty basic, but we can just do like RAFCE. And then pretty much here, just straight up say h1 overview. And I have these classes on here just so that like it's centered. So let's say class name equals to, let's just say home. And I'll just save that. And then pretty much we can go to the app.js. So here, we'll wrap these with a switch, and then that's what will actually pass in my routes. So let's say routes. The path is equal to /overview. We have exact and then component. So here I want the component to be the page display. So the page is overview. And then if I do closing stuff, closing tag, we actually have to import this too. So let's just say import overview from /pages/overview. So it should be good. Save it. And technically, if I shrink it, oh, I know why it's not. It doesn't look right because I had to add like a custom style. But then technically you can see the overview. But here, let's go to app.css really quick. Just command it and get rid of this. And let's just straight up reset this. So this is why it's not doing it. So let's say box sizing, border box, margin 0, padding 0. And I just put font family. I had Lato, but I mean it doesn't matter. You can fix this later. Use whatever font you want to. But I pretty much just imported this. So let me just save some time. Let me just copy this in here. It's just short lines. Basically, I just added Google font. Same thing we just typed. And then here I just added, technically you could just name this one thing, but I just did it like this. Just display flex height. This is irrelevant because all this does is just centers it so I can see what page I'm on. But if you want to do it, feel free to copy this. But all we need to do now is, so for the most part, I'm not going to do all the pages like I did in the original version. I'm just going to show you the reports one because this is pretty self-explanatory. They're just straight routes. But like the sub routes is something I learned new that I want to show you how I did it. And I just created a new page here. So a new file. Just call this one reports.js. And here we just say import React. So IMRC or IMR, my bad. And then we can just say export const reports. And these are arrow functions, and I'm just exporting like this. Name exports, and then we can do return div, or technically I can just say dot reports. Makes the class for me, and just call this reports. So the way I did the like the sub links is I just copied this, just pasted it within. Now if you wanted to make these like separate pages and they have like a bunch of content, feel free. But there's like a way I did it, and I just say reports 1, and this would just say reports. So technically it'd be slash reports 1, and then let's copy this because this makes more sense. So do here and then here. This can just be 2. So it should be reports 2, or this should be 3, and this should just be 3. So I save this here. Let me go back to app. I think I didn't add this. Let me say dot reports just so that it gets the same styles. And looks like what I have extra curly braces from copying. Yes, this is basically the reports. And then when I went to app.js, the way I did it was I just straight up, let me do Command B to close this. Let's do shift fall down. Let's do 3 times. So 1, 2, 3. And how many reports I have? 1, 2, 3. So actually 4. Let's do 4. So here, the first path is going to be reports. Then the component is going to be reports. And then we can import this. So we can just say import curly brace. Since it's named, we just say reports with the curly braces. If you defaulted, then you want to use curly braces. But let me say reports 1. And React doesn't like having more than one default export. So like if I did go overview, I try to do like the same thing. Go overview T or R. If I save it, it's gonna be like, let's see. Yeah, it doesn't like it. It's like only one. So that's why I did named for the reports. If you know an alternative way, let me know. But let's just go here. Let's do reports 2, reports 3. This is going to be from /pages/reports. So now all I need to do is just change these. So pretty much, let's just go here. Say reports 1. Let me copy this and then paste it again. Let's say reports 2. Copy this and reports 3. Let me say it first because I wanted to show. So let me make sure. Works fine. Okay, so now for the reports 1, I want to say reports/reports 1. Then we can copy this. And then we have reports 2. Then we have reports 3. So again, make sure on your data file that this matches the link you put, because if you didn't, it's not gonna know what you clicked. So technically, if we go and then we click on reports, it'll show. Now, ideally, if you have like a drop down, you probably wouldn't want this to do, but I just did it for this video. So you could leave that link out if you didn't need it. But here we can go to reports 1, reports 2, and reports 3. So again, if you want to do like these down here, you just copy. So like I just do really quick on pages. Let's just go like team.js. And then you show it up again. Just I'll just copy the overview, paste it. I'll do Command D, just call this team. So I just save this here. And then when I go back to the app.js, I'll just straight up paste this in. So I just say here slash team components import team from dot slash pages slash team, should be team capitalized. So now I click team and there you go. So that was basically, these don't work because I didn't add anything, but ideally you can see reports works again, and then team, and then notice that the height sticks because I added the reset in app.css right here. So this is pretty much how I made this really basic, simple sidebar with Dropdown. So if you did enjoy this, definitely like the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel. Let me know any comments on ways to make this better, or if you have any ways to refactor the code, feel free to send me your own GitHub link. I'll definitely check it out. And aside from that, I'll see you in the next video.